To our political editor, Glenn Campbell. Glenn, what's...
Well, Nicola Sturgeon is known for her caution, but let's be clear, this is a gamble. It's a risk. She set a date for a referendum without knowing whether or not it can actually take place. And unless Boris Johnson has a sudden change of heart and decides it's a good idea, that's very unlikely to happen, then it will be for judges to determine whether this place has enough power on its own to put the independence question to the Scottish public for a second time. In the nearly 8 years since Scotland voted to stay part of the UK, the argument over independence, like the Falkirk Wheel, has never stopped.
I think it would be worthwhile this time round, obviously taking into account Brexit.
We can't carry on just mitigating all the things that the UK government is doing.
I think there are a lot of other things that we should be thinking about.
I wouldn't say it's no never, but it's no the new.
Scotland remains divided and there's deadlock over IndyRef 2. Nicola Sturgeon's immediate challenge is how to engineer another referendum when Westminster is so resistant to lending Holyrood the explicit power to hold a meaningful vote.
Now is the time, at this critical moment in history, to debate and decide the future of our country.
Her plan is to legislate for a referendum to be held on Thursday, the 19th of October next year, asking the question, should Scotland be an independent country, same as last time? But first of all, to test the legality of Holyrood passing a referendum bill in the UK Supreme Court.
The fact is, neither legal opinions nor political arguments will resolve this point. We must establish legal fact. That is why, in my view, we must seek now to accelerate to the point when we have legal clarity, legal fact. And crucially, in doing so, I hope, establish and safeguard the ability of this Parliament to deliver a referendum on the date proposed.
It's a bold move by the First Minister in the wrong game, according to her Conservative opponents.
The First Minister is putting her plans to divide Scotland front and centre. Nicola Sturgeon has shown again today that the SNP's selfish obsession with another divisive referendum is always their top priority.
Other pro-UK parties wanted to concentrate on cost of living challenges, COVID recovery.
Isn't it the case that the pandemic Nicola that said she wanted to pull us through is gone, and the partisan Nicola Sturgeon that wants to divide our country is back?
So the First Minister is putting disquiet in her party ahead of the needs of this country.
But independence supporting parties think Scotland can build a better recovery outside the Union.
I think it's the right thing to do to establish this question about the legality so that we can put that question aside and have the real conversation that we want to have about the kind of country that we want to be.
To win this and to impose Scotland's will on the Westminster system, we'll need a united, determined, concerted campaign, but above all a grassroots campaign.
The independence referendum debate now heads to the UK Supreme Court, and while it's considering, to the Court of Public Opinion, as here in Aberdeen.
Once in a lifetime, she said, so I think, no, not for me.
Frankly speaking, we haven't got the money for a second referendum at the moment.
I'd probably go for it again, see what happens.
I'm quite keen on it, to be perfectly honest. I think it'd be a good idea.
The balance of public opinion could turn one way or the other during an independence campaign. But the question tonight is whether the strategy Nicola Sturgeon is lining up will actually lead to a referendum.
So Glenn, lots to take in, lots to digest, but clearly a significant day at Holyrood.
Yes, and remember that Nicola Sturgeon's plan A hasn't worked. That was to win a majority here at Holyrood for IndyRef 2 at last year's election. The SNP and Greens got their majority, but it didn't see Westminster opposition crumble. There's no deal, there is deadlock. Her stated plan B was to press ahead with an independence referendum bill, even without UK government approval, and to take her chances in the UK Supreme Court. What she's actually announced is a variation on that, a plan B plus, if you like, to go early to the Supreme Court and to seek their opinion on whether or not that would be legal. And the Scottish Government know this is risky, know that it might not work, because the law that set up the Scottish Parliament makes clear that the union between Scotland and England, decision-making on that, is reserved to Westminster. And if the judges think a referendum would impact directly on that, it would be a no-go.
Most commentators think that the idea of a referendum without Westminster consent is beyond the competence of the Scottish Parliament. That has generally been taken to be the case. There was a case in the Court of Session last year that hinted that that was the case, but we don't know categorically. But the balance of opinion certainly tends to fall that way.
There is a legal argument that says it might be possible, and I'm told that Scotland's top law officer, the Lord Advocate, will personally make that case before the UK Supreme Court, which has confirmed this evening that it's received the paperwork and the top judge will now decide how to proceed. If the court decides that a referendum is possible, then that will put pressure on the Conservatives and Labour. Will they really boycott a referendum that a court has decided is legal? They say, the Conservatives certainly say that they would. If, of course, the judges go the other way and say this can't happen, then it won't happen. Nicola Sturgeon has made very clear that any referendum would be legal or it wouldn't go ahead. In those circumstances, she would fold this argument into the next UK general election campaign and put independence at the centre of that.
So let's just pick up on that then. Is it really possible that the next general election could be turned into a de facto referendum on Scottish independence, as the First Minister said?
Well, Nicola Sturgeon says she would fight it on that single issue. She would be seeking to win a majority of the votes in that election, which the SNP has not done before. If they achieved that, though, would it actually make any difference? Would it be accepted as a vote for independence? That is some way down the line.
OK, Glenn at Holyrood, thank you.